So thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Brandon Grant. I'm the marketing director here at QuoteWerks, and today we're going to be demonstrating QuoteWerks Web with MS CRM. So we just released the full integration with MS CRM in QuoteWerks Web about a month ago now, maybe a little longer, but what we're going to do today is just kind of go through a very short PowerPoint presentation, just kind of touching on the features of the integration, and then actually go through a live demonstration of the integration with MS CRM, and then we'll take any questions that you have about QuoteWerks Web or the integration at the end of the webinar today. For those of you that are unfamiliar with QuoteWerks Web, QuoteWerks Web is an add-on to QuoteWerks Desktop. So this means that you don't have to repurchase the software. You're not having to buy a completely new system and migrate data or any of that. It's just going to be an add-on to your existing licensing. You just have to have the corporate edition, which if you already are using QuoteWerks with MS CRM, you already have it because the integration with MS CRM requires a corporate edition. Your maintenance also has to be up to date, so that means you have to be active because when we do push updates to QuoteWerks Web, when we release new updates in desktop, we release them in QuoteWerks Web also. So to keep everything in sync, you have to be on the latest version of QuoteWerks Desktop as well. But one of the really nice things about QuoteWerks Web is, in addition to using your existing data, it uses your existing licensing. So you're not having to repurchase QuoteValet. You don't have to repurchase Utilize in real time. It's just going to use those existing subscriptions and licensing. The price is $10 per user per month, or you can buy the annual subscription at $110 per user per year. It's also really nice that you don't have to buy a license for every user in your installation. You only need to purchase a QuoteWerks Web license for those that need access to QuoteWerks outside of the office. So if you have, maybe 3 reps in the office and 3 reps outside the office, you could get away with 3 QuoteWerks Web licenses. You wouldn't have to buy 6 for everyone. So it's a nice little feature there as well. You have a couple of different options for hosting. You can host it yourself. If you have your own Microsoft SQL server and you want to host it yourself, you can absolutely do that. We also are providing a hosting service. It's $40 a month if you want us to host it for you. And then you can also go through like a third party. So if you are like an Amazon partner or a Microsoft partner and you want to set it up on Azure, you can do that as well. So quite a few options for how you want to host the database and kind of get everything taken care of. So to go into a little more detail about the product, so it does include the MS CRM integration. So QuoteWerks Web just automatically comes with the MS CRM integration. So as long as you have a QuoteWerks Web license, you'll have access to that. You don't have to purchase anything differently. It's designed to be able to create, edit, and deliver documents. So really the biggest things that are missing from QuoteWerks Web is the administration of documents, kind of like your settings and your options, things like that. It's not really designed for that. It's designed for reps to be able to create documents, edit them, deliver them to customers, create the opportunities in MS CRM, all of that information. Like I said previously, it's going to use your existing licensing features. So if you have QuoteValet, if you have Utilize in real time, you'll have access to that functionality in QuoteWerks Web already. And then we'll use your existing product and services databases. So if you've already set those up in QuoteWerks, you'll have access to those as well. Same thing with like your layouts, your literature, your spec sheets, all those things. You won't have to recreate those in QuoteWerks Web. You'll just have access to your existing ones, so you can continue to use pretty seamlessly the new software and the new integrations. As always, we have a ton of resources on the website. So there's a dedicated web page for QuoteWerks Web. There's a video available for QuoteWerks Web and the MS CRM integration. So if you want to see that, you can do that. And then obviously we have help file instructions for QuoteWerks Web and kind of how that works and setting that up in the installation. If you're not following us on social media, make sure you're following us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. We'll put out a bunch of information on there. It's also, we'll let you know kind of what events we're going to be at. I know we're going to be at ASCII here over the next couple of months. We're also going to have our user summit in March of 2020. That's going to be here in Orlando. It's going to be 2 full days of training on QuoteWerks. So if you're interested in that, let us know. We can get you some more information so you can kind of check that out and see if it's something you want to do. All right, so let's go ahead and switch over to QuoteWerks Web here. So we're just going to kind of walk through the process here. So let's get switched over. There we go. So I'm going to go to, obviously I have my web browser open, and I want to go to the QuoteWerks Web Login. So to go there, you're just going to type in na.quoteworks.com, and that'll bring you to the QuoteWerks Web Login. So there's going to be 3 fields that you need to fill out. The first one's going to be your tenant account number. This would be your like QuoteValet account, your QuoteValet tenant account if you have one, where you're going to put that information in here. So it'd be like whatever your tenant account is. If you don't know what it is off the top of your head, you can ask your sales rep, and they'll be able to provide that information for you. So we'll go ahead and put ours in here. So we'll use my demo one here so I don't mess anything up. And then your username and password are just going to be the same as your QuoteWerks username and password. So the same way you log into QuoteWerks, same way you log into QuoteValet, it's going to be your same QuoteWerks Web login credentials as well. So we use the one unified login, so it just makes things easy to kind of go between all of those. And then once you've added that information, simply click Login, and this will begin the process of logging you into QuoteWerks Web. And like I said, we are having kind of intermittent internet issues here, so just bear with me if we cut out or something freezes or anything like that. So okay, so once you get logged into QuoteWerks Web, you're going to be brought to the home screen. Home screen has a couple different options. In the middle of the screen, you're going to have kind of what we typically would, where we would typically start, either by creating a new document in QuoteWerks Web or opening an existing document. One of the really cool features about QuoteWerks Web is your document database always stays in sync. So if you were working on a quote in the office and you had to leave, maybe you're going on site somewhere or you had to rush home for something and you decided you wanted to finish that quote before you come into the office the next day, you could log into QuoteWerks Web, go into the open window and search for that document you're working on in the desktop, and you'd have access to it immediately in QuoteWerks Web. So all your documents will always be in sync between QuoteWerks Web and QuoteWerks Desktop because they're all sharing the same database. For our example, I'm just going to go ahead and start with a new blank document. So you can just click on the new icon and that'll just create a new blank document. Or if you click on the drop down, you'll be able to choose from like a new quote, new order, or new invoice. So we'll just choose new quote and we'll be prompted to give the document a name. So in this example, I'll go ahead and just put our MS CRM webinar for our name and then just click create. And this will create a new blank document for us in QuoteWerks Web. So when you get logged into QuoteWerks Web, it's going to look very familiar. It's going to look very familiar to QuoteWerks Desktop. So we try to keep a lot of the functionality the same so that you're not having to go through a complete learning curve to start using the software. So we have our tabs here. We have our toolbar buttons, some menu options. Really the biggest difference is going to be some of the shortcuts on the navigation panel where you can kind of get to things a little quicker. So for our example, we want to go ahead and select the contact to pull into QuoteWerks Web. So we're going to click on our Sold To Ship To tab, and just like if you were in QuoteWerks Desktop, click on the magnifying glass, and that'll bring you to the Find Contact window here. And then you'll see on the left-hand side, you'll see a contacts option. So if I go back to the workbook, you can go to contacts, and that'll bring you to the contact search screen. So it's just a little shortcut that you can use. And then you'll see here, since we have MS CRM set up as our contact manager, we can go ahead and do a search. We're going to do a search by account name, but if you wanted to search by one of the other options, you could do that. The integration is going to work the same way as it does in the desktop. So we can look for an account name, and we'll just do Spire Technologies. And then once that returns back my results, I'll be able to see all the accounts that match that, and then I can select my contact here by highlighting them. And then you'll see down at the bottom, we have our Sold To, Ship To, and Bill To buttons, and then also our All button here. And if I click All, you'll actually get a confirmation down at the bottom right corner that that contact was added to the current document. Now, to get out of here, all you have to do is click back into the workbook. So if I click back to the workbook, that'll bring me to my Sold To, Ship To tab. And you can see that my contact has been pulled in to my document. So everything looks good there. So let's go ahead and start building our documents. We're going to flip over to our Document Items tab. And just like in QuoteWerks Desktop, we can utilize section headers. So if you wanted to build the document, we can do that. So we can right-click, insert section header, and we'll just do a generic one. We'll do one for products and click OK. And let's go ahead and do one for services. And I can just hit enter on my keyboard. And then we'll do one more for optional items. And like I said, this is just kind of a generic one. If you wanted to do more specific, you absolutely could. But just So we have something on our document here. And then I'm going to go ahead and just delete this extra line item here. So we'll just do delete line. So we just start with our section header items instead. So once you have your contact, once you have your section headers, we are now ready to add some items to the document. So we're going to click on the products icon. So you can click on the products icon. You can also go to the product shortcut on the left-hand side. Either one will bring you to the same one. And then you'll see a few options here. You'll see your databases on the left-hand side that you've set up in QuoteWerks, and then you'll also see Utilize here. So let's start with Utilize. One reason I want to show Utilize is because the interface is going to be a little different. We made it a little easier to kind of search through items here. So I want to start in Utilize first. So we'll click on Utilize, and then you'll see your search for. If we want to use we'll just use our kind of generic item here, trip light switch, we can do that. We can limit to my distributors and then click search. And this will work very similar to QuoteWerks Desktop. There's just going to be a few differences here. So have a couple items here, and we'll just start with this first one. So if you click on one of the items, this will actually go out and get the pricing and availability. So when you select one of the items, it'll automatically get that pricing and availability. And then if you mouse over the availability, you'll actually see the breakdown by warehouse. So you can see Tech Data has this one in stock, has 6 in stock, and then 114 by vendor. New England Micro doesn't have any. Cinex has some by manufacturer as well that you can drop ship, so you could select those. And then if you wanted to add it from a specific vendor, you simply choose the select add option here. And when you do that, you'll get that confirmation that the item was added to the current document. Now you also see that the similar items and the upsell items tabs automatically appear so that you can kind of rotate and choose between those as well. On the top right, and actually if we minimize this just so it's a little easier to see here, you'll see there's a couple other buttons that are available for this item. We also have a quick add item. So if you just wanted to add the item to the document, you're not worried about sourcing it from the vendor. Maybe you've already negotiated pricing with the vendor, so you just need to pull the item in so you have the product picture and the customer-friendly descriptions, but you don't need the pricing and availability. You can use the quick add, and that'll allow you to add those items to the document. You also have the option of adding items to the workspace. When you add an item to the workspace, so let's just add these 3 here. So you'll see there as I add them to the workspace, they're going to show up on your workspace tab in Utilize. The workspace tab is kind of like a temporary holding area for items. This is really useful if you're creating multiple quotes where you're kind of quoting or searching for a lot of the same items, or maybe you're going to come back to this item. It won't save it permanently, but while you're working on this particular item, and basically until you log out of QuoteWerks Web, it'll be saved in this workspace tab. So it's a great kind of like little holding area for these individual items kind of as you're working on multiple documents. And then we have our compare window here. So if we select these 3 items to also add to our compare tab, this should look pretty familiar. This is just like the compare window in the Utilize in QuoteWerks Desktop, where you can see the differences between the different items. You can get your pricing and availability across those items all at once, and you can see kind of the differences in the pricing availability, and then you could add one or multiple of these items to your document if you wanted to. And then if we go back to our search, and then the last 2 options, there's favorites. So if you favorite an item, it'll show up in your favorites tab. The favorites is a permanent save. This is where you can save an item and it'll actually save it permanently for you in your QuoteWerks installation. So every time you go to Utilize, you'll always be able to access any items that you've saved in your favorites. And then the last option here, this is going to be remove this item from view. So if you don't quote this item, or maybe this is an older version of the item that you're looking for, you can actually click on this option here, and this will remove it from your search view here so that you don't see the item anymore. So if you're narrowing down items, it's really easy, or maybe you've already reviewed the item and you're not going to quote it this particular time, you can do the remove from view and it won't show up in your view anymore. But however, it's not a permanent, it's just temporary. So if you come back and then maybe you are going to quote it, or you're looking for an item like it, when you come back, it will be available. So it's just while this search window is open, so while you're doing this search here. Okay. The Utilize search also has the filtering. So it has your categories that you can filter by. So if you want to filter by like switch boxes and kind of drill down on that. And then let's go ahead and choose, let's do brand name here. You wanted to do specifically to Trip Light. And we'll just select one of these items here. And this will get our pricing and availability. And let's see. So vendor direct, we'll just go ahead and we'll add this one to the document. So we have a couple items on our quote. So, so as far as Utilize goes, the interface is a little bit different, but the functionality is going to be really, really similar and very easy to use. All right, now if we go back into the product database here, so we'll switch over. This would be where you have your items set up in QuoteWerks. So I have my demo items database here, and you'll see you'll be able to search for your items just like you typically would. So I can search by item description, manufacturer part number, manufacturer, vendor part number, internal part number, keyword, however you've set it up in QuoteWerks. So for example, if I wanted to select one of these items, I can do that and choose add select item to the document. You can also double click on it. And when I do that, that'll bring up my add item assistant, which should look pretty familiar. So I can change the quantity of this item if I want to. I can adjust the price or the price modifier if I want to. You can check your price history for this particular customer. So if I've quoted this customer in the past, you'll actually see what you had quoted them in the past and what the price was and the date, and all that information is going to be available for you here. And then this is also where you can utilize those section headers. So I can actually say, okay, let's go ahead and add this as a, we'll add this as a service, since this is in a SmartNet extended service. We'll go ahead and we'll add it under our services section. And then we'll go ahead and we'll just select a couple other items here. So I'm just going to highlight multiple items by holding Control on my keyboard. And we'll go ahead and we'll add these. And again, if your items have pictures associated with them, we'll bring those in just like if you had quoted them from QuoteWerks Desktop. And we'll select our options here. So we'll add that as a product. If you have any items that have optional items associated with them or required items, those will be available as well. So we'll go ahead and add it here, and we'll say this is going to be an optional item. And this is going to be a product. And our service. And another service, and we'll add that in there. All right. So, and if you want to pull items from other databases, you can do that as well. It'll work the exact same way, where you'll see a list of all your items here. You can do a search, so you can mix and match. So the product window, like I said, the interface is going to be a little different, but the functionality is going to work very similar and be easy to kind of run through and add items to the document. All right, so let's go back to our workbook here. We'll go back to our workbook, and we have our items in the document. Now, if you want to kind of maneuver things around or change the order of items, or maybe you want to move things, we can easily do that. So if you go over here to the left, you'll see you'll have the little hand, and you can easily just kind of drag an item. So if I wanted to move that item from a product to service, I could do that. If I have something that's maybe an optional item, then I want to move it to my product section, I can do that as well. So it's really easy to kind of maneuver items around. If you want to do multiple items that are contiguous, we can do that. So just hold Control and then highlight those items, and we can move those items. If you want to do non-contiguous items, just highlight the other item as well, and then you can drag those items, and you'll be able to drag those, in this case, those three items into another section. So it's really easy to kind of maneuver these items around your document, kind of move everything exactly where you want it to appear in the document. I'm just going to go ahead and move everything kind of back here while I have it set up. Okay. Additionally, just like your regular QuoteWerks Desktop, your items are going to have the line attributes. So if, let's go ahead and just highlight this one here. If we right click, you'll see you have your edit menu as you typically would, and we'll have our line attributes. So if we want to set this item as optional, we can set it as optional, and we'll choose included. And we'll go ahead and we'll repeat this for this option as well. Yep, it's included. That way our customer can select or deselect those on the document. You'll be able to change your deposit if you want, if you need to add shipping or anything like that. And just like in QuoteWerks Desktop, we'll subtotal everything out for you, your recurring monthly, recurring quarterlies. We support subtotals, your section headers, your regular headings. If you need to add blank lines or add items on the fly, you'll be able to do that as well. So all that functionality is going to be available to you just like you typically would have. Now, a couple differences here. There's going to be some pretty cool features in QuoteWerks Web. One of them, if you highlight an item and then you look on your grid toolbar here, there's an option that says toggle description panel. And what this will do, this will allow you to, when you click on it, it opens up this description panel below your document. So you can see the entire item's description, and then you can kind of go through the various items and make those changes. So maybe I'm looking at this item and going, oh, you know what, it's a really lengthy description for what I'm selling. Let's just go ahead and shorten this. Or maybe you want to copy and paste the description from somewhere else. You can do that. And with this panel open, I can click on any of these items and actually see any of these changes to this item. So that makes it really easy to kind of go through and make those adjustments to this particular items. You can toggle this on and off very simply just by clicking on the toggle description panel button. And like I said, one of the really useful features of this is that it's going to allow you to quickly make changes to those items descriptions so that you can make sure you have everything kind of the way you want. Like I said, I really enjoy using it. If you have like another description that you like or that you want to use, you can easily pull it from another source, copy and paste it in there. It's one of the biggest things we hear about is having to individually go through each item instead of being able to easily make those changes. That's kind of one of the typical things that we hear. So that's going to be one of those items that that's really cool. And then directly next to it is another feature, which is so we'll go ahead and we'll turn that off here, is the toggle item panel. And the toggle item panel is really useful because this will actually show you all of your columns. So if I let's go ahead and just click on just a different item here. Let's click on here, toggle item panel. On the right-hand side, you'll see all the columns that are available on your document items tab. Now, by default, they're going to be in alphabetical order, but if you uncheck this box, then they'll actually be in the same order that you have on your document. So again, if you wanted to adjust this item's description, so maybe we'll just shorten this one here, whichever one this one is. We'll update this one. Should have picked a shorter one. You can do that, or if you wanted to search for like a specific item, so for instance, or a specific column. So for instance, if I wanted to do unit cost, or actually unit price is probably a better one. So if I wanted to update an item's unit price, I could actually just type in here like, $178 and change that item's unit price. And you can click out of there, and then that'll allow you to make that change. Or you can actually tab through them. So for instance, if I wanted to go in here and maybe I wanted to change the quantity, and then you can simply tab through the various columns to make changes. So it makes it really easy to update and change those line items in your document kind of as you're going forward. All right, so let's go ahead and close out of there. Additionally, in your grid toolbar, you also have the set dependent quantity option. So this will allow you to pull items or link items together. So if you sell item A, and then when you sell item A, item B automatically comes with it, but you need to sell 3 of them. So if you sell 2 of item A, you need to sell 6 of item B. You can link those together as well. That set dependent quantity feature will be available. And then in addition to that, you'll also be able to see the line attributes and the item properties, and also highlight your items. So have a lot of functionality available that should get you pretty far creating these documents. And like I said, the main difference between QuoteWerks Web and QuoteWerks Desktop is QuoteWerks Web doesn't have the administrative functionalities and features as QuoteWerks Desktop. It's made for using the document, making those changes, that type of thing. So you'll have access to like your sale info tab. So the information will be on here. So you'll have, your purchase amount, your payment options. Working on adding some more functionality there, where your payment options will actually be something that can be changed. So if you have like whatever it is, credit cards or ACH or terms, whatever you want to set, you'll be able to make those changes. So you'll have some options there for doing that in the future. That's what we're going to kind of work on next. And then you also can change like the document date, the expiration date, things like that. So just the typical fields there. On the Notes tab, when you click on the Notes tab, you'll see you have access to the introduction closing notes and your purchasing internal notes as well. Also like the created on, last modified by, and then our custom tabs. Custom tab, your custom field names are going to pull over from QuoteWerks Desktop, so that'll match up to whatever you've set there as well. And then once we upload this item or document to QuoteValet, then we'll have access to make the change there. So, all right. So let's go ahead and save our document. So we're going to click on Save here. This is what's going to trigger the integration with MS CRM, just like you would in QuoteWerks Desktop. So we'll choose to create our link document, create our follow-up call, and create our sales opportunity, and then simply click OK, and that'll start that process. And this will bring up your Create New MS CRM Opportunity window, and you'll have the option to access your older opportunities or existing opportunities, or you can have QuoteWerks Web create a brand new one. For our example, I'm just going to go ahead and create a brand new one. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK here. And hopefully it doesn't time out because I think I just lost my internet connection. Just one moment. Hanging on me, so we'll see. Okay. Hopefully that went through. We'll see. But basically, it'll update the opportunity, and then if you wanted to create an MS CRM call, you'll be able to do that as well. So once you've done that, you've created the information in MS CRM, you can go into MS CRM and we can update it here, and this will be good. We can check to see if it actually updated it. Okay, so it did create our opportunity. I thought it timed out on us, but it went ahead and created that. So we have our opportunity. So just like you would in QuoteWerks Desktop, you'll have the opportunity. And then if we scroll down to the MS CRM Quote, it's where the line item information will be written in from the QuoteWerks Quote. That'll come into the opportunity here for you. So you can see your line item information in that opportunity. So everything looks good. So we want to go ahead and send this over to our customer. So we're going to click on our deliver icon. And then we have our cover page, our layout, and then we'll go ahead and we'll select the literature. And to go back to kind of re-mention this, the cover page, your layouts, your literature, all this is pulling from QuoteWerks Desktop. So when you have this information in QuoteWerks Desktop, we're going to use the same ones in QuoteWerks Web. So again, you're not having to recreate any of that information. We're actually going to use the same information here. So we'll have our cover page, have our layout selected. If you have any literature files, those will be available as well. Any spec sheets and anything from your links you'll be able to utilize. And then when you're ready, we'll choose upload to QuoteValet. We don't need an approval, so we'll just go ahead and we'll overwrite that. And we'll process our literature. And then we'll choose our upload for our QuoteValet document. And then once our document's been uploaded to QuoteValet, we'll go ahead and we'll preview this on QuoteValet so we can see what it's going to look like. So just like QuoteWerks Desktop, when you're using QuoteValet and you upload your document to QuoteWerks Web, or to QuoteValet through QuoteWerks Web rather, you'll use the same templates. So you'll see your information here, everything looks. Customer can select and deselect options. They'll have the payment options available, and then they can sign off on the document. So everything looks good there. So if we click back to QuoteWerks Web, one of the common questions we get with QuoteWerks Web is a lot of times when you go to do this, you might hit preview and nothing happens. You might just have to be aware that your pop-up blocker may block the page from opening if you have one. And then also same thing if you go to view the PDF file. If it doesn't open when you click on it, also again, your pop-up blocker, you just need to basically say that QuoteWerks Web is allowed to open up these files and these pages, and that'll typically resolve it. So just keep that in mind if you're clicking on view PDF file and it's not showing up for you. Probably just need to check your settings in your pop-up blocker, and same thing if you do the preview web page. So send email window, going to be pretty straightforward. You'll have who you're sending this email to, who it's coming from, and then your subject, and then your email information. The email templates are being pulled from QuoteWerks Desktop. So again, if it's in QuoteWerks Desktop, you'll have access to it in QuoteWerks Web. If you set up templates that you want to use in QuoteWerks Web or QuoteWerks Desktop, those will be available in your template email window also. And then you can simply hit send. I don't have email set up, so I'm not going to actually hit send, but you hit send, sends out the email to the customer. Customer is ready to move forward. Everything looks good. So customer's happy. Now, if we go over to our QuoteValet tab, since we've actually uploaded our documents to QuoteValet, we'll be able to see the QuoteValet activity. So far we've created and uploaded for the customer. Customer hasn't viewed it yet. Obviously, they haven't accepted or paid, but if they would, you would see that typical activity here as well. You'll also see you have access to that sales rep facing page and the customer facing page. And if I had submitted it for peer review or management approval, those would be available as well. And then once the customer accepts it, you'll have access to view the payment request page also. If you're not using QuoteValet, again, you can still use QuoteWerks Web, and we'll just email the document through QuoteWerks like we typically would. So once the customer signs off on the document, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and we'll accept this quote, and we'll have the customer sign off on it and sign off and click to accept. So just like you typically would, you'll receive that email confirmation that the customer has viewed the quote. And then you'll be brought to the acceptance screen. And then if you are accepting payments through QuoteValet, customer can come to this payment page and actually make payment through their document. And then if we go to the QuoteValet tab here in QuoteWerks Web, you'll actually get a notification that the customer accepted an option. And then it'll check to see if the document has been accepted by the customer, if they've signed off on it, when they signed off on it, and then if you want to convert this quote to an order. So if you want to update the opportunity as one at this point, you can do that. So this will convert our quote to an order. And then this will prompt you to close the MS CRM opportunity as one. Same thing works if the opportunity is not one. If the customer, customer decides they're not going to move forward and you do a file convert to loss instead of file convert to order, when you do file convert to loss, same window will open up, but instead of having one selected, it'll say loss. The status reason will say lost, and then that'll update your opportunity. So everything continues to stay in sync, just like you typically would in QuoteWerks. So go ahead and we'll hit OK there, and that'll close out of this window. And then it shouldn't ask us to update an opportunity, so it'll be fine. All right, so our opportunity has been updated as one in CRM. So that's been updated, and then everything is set up in QuoteWerks. So you're good to go there moving forward, and you can kind of move on from there. All right. So the last thing I wanted to show you guys was kind of how we handle multiple documents in QuoteWerks Web, because that's always kind of a challenge is if you have multiple documents open, being able to kind of switch between them. So right now I have this document here. If I go to my documents window, and let's just do administrator, and we'll do new. And we'll go ahead and we'll select this document here. So let's go ahead and open up this document. So one of the cool features about QuoteWerks Web is that you can quickly flip between different documents. So as you add documents or as you search for documents and open documents, down at the bottom, you'll actually be able to click on the other documents and kind of toggle between the various documents. You can have up to 5 documents open at a time. Obviously, depending on your monitor size, you might lose some real estate doing that. So, you know, just want to kind of be aware of that. But it's an easy way to kind of toggle between your various documents, and you simply just click on one of the other ones, and you can just kind of go back and forth to the documents really quickly. So you can copy and paste from another document if you want to. You can just makes it really easy to have multiple documents, or if you're just simply working on multiple documents, you'll be able to do that as well. So that's one of the last things I wanted to show you. And then if you do have QuoteValet, you will have access to QuoteValet Insight directly from QuoteWerks Web. So you can actually log into your QuoteValet account and view the, run your typical QuoteValet reporting or view documents that have already been uploaded to QuoteValet. So, and obviously you can kind of toggle back and forth between QuoteValet Insight and your QuoteWerks Web fairly easily. So that's a nice little feature, being able to just kind of move between them pretty seamlessly. And kind of if you need to approve something or change something or send a note out, you can kind of, you'll have access to all that information from here. So, okay, well, I think that's everything we wanted to cover for today. I do appreciate everyone hanging around while was kind of just praying that the internet will continue to work with some minor hiccups there. But if you do have any questions, you'll see in the go-to meeting box, there's a questions option where you can post any questions. So if you do have questions, feel free to post them and we'll kind of go through those. If any of you are interested in getting set up with a trial of QuoteWerks Web, definitely let us know. We'd be happy to set you up. We'll send you over some requirements and some information on getting started with it. And if you have any other questions, just let us know. So I'm going to go through some of the questions here as they start coming in, but I am going to stop the recording. So if you don't have any questions, thanks for attending. For those of you that do have questions, go ahead and just stick around and we'll go through those.